For 3,000 years, humanity had known peace. After the wars that had ravaged the earth, the human race united, building a new world based on cooperation, technology, and understanding. The wars were a distant memory, buried deep in history, as mankind worked together to explore the stars. They established colonies on faraway planets and lived in harmony, free from the conflicts that once defined their existence. With the dawn of this new era, humans had achieved what many thought impossible: a lasting, unshakable peace. In the vast expanse of the universe, Earth had become a symbol of hope and unity. The galaxy had watched as humanity, once divided and war-torn, had grown into a powerful, peaceful force. But as the years passed, the once fearful races in the galaxy began to grow uneasy with the rising influence of mankind. The peaceful face of humanity hid a force that few understood. For although there was no war, humans had not forgotten the lessons of the past. They had changed, adapted, and built an empire of knowledge and strength that was quietly growing in every corner of the galaxy. Life on Earth had become predictable, almost boring. People went to work, lived their lives, and watched the stars twinkle in the sky, never worrying about the next fight or battle. The last few generations had grown up in a world where war was a tale told by their grandparents. The military might that had once been necessary had turned into a symbol of ancient history. Most soldiers were now peacekeepers, maintaining order in a world that seemed so stable and untouchable. But deep in the heart of space, on the edge of the galaxy, something stirred. Unknown to the peaceful humans, a new threat was emerging, one that would shatter their calm and change everything they had come to believe. A signal, faint but growing stronger, reached Earth from the deep, dark reaches of space. It was an alien message, a challenge from a race that had been watching humanity for centuries. This message was not one of peace. It was a declaration of war. The message was short, and its tone was cold. A species known as the Zinthar, an ancient and powerful race from beyond the stars, were coming to Earth. They declared that the time of peace was over. They had been watching humanity for centuries, waiting for the right moment to strike. The Zinthar had conquered countless civilizations before, and now they turned their eyes toward Earth. The message was blunt and simple: your time has come. Surrender or face destruction. It was a shock, but what followed was even more astonishing. The response from Earth, from the leaders and people who had known nothing but peace, was not one of fear or panic. There was no scrambling to defend themselves, no panic or confusion in the streets. Instead, humanity did something that left the Zinthar and the galaxy utterly baffled. They laughed. The reaction was broadcasted across the universe. News outlets reported that Earth's leaders, when they received the alien message, did not retreat or prepare for war. They didn't panic or fall into chaos. Instead, they laughed. The message, though threatening, seemed almost absurd. The Zinthar, with all their power and arrogance, had underestimated humanity. Earth had changed. The people of Earth had learned from the past. They had grown wiser, stronger, and far more resilient than anyone could have predicted. The laughter was not born of arrogance, but from a deep, unwavering confidence. The humans knew something that the aliens didn't. The Zinthar had no idea what they were about to face. The leaders of Earth understood the weight of the moment, but they also understood the power they had accumulated over the centuries. They had evolved in ways the Zinthar never anticipated. Humans weren't the weak, divided race they had once been. They had become something more, something that was ready to defend itself, no matter the cost. As the alien fleet drew closer, the human response grew even more chilling. "We will not submit," said the Earth's general, her voice unwavering. "We will not surrender." The entire planet seemed to echo her words. Humanity was no longer the underdog, no longer the species on the defensive. Earth was ready, and the Zinthar were about to discover just how wrong they were in their assessment of human strength. But even as humans prepared to face this new threat, there was a sense of unease. Not everyone on Earth was ready to face the coming storm. Some still feared the power of the Zinthar, unsure whether humanity's newfound confidence would be enough to withstand the alien onslaught. There were whispers in the shadows, doubts that perhaps the peace they had taken for granted had made them weak, fragile. Had they truly prepared for something like this? Or had they become so accustomed to their comfortable, peaceful life that they no longer understood the price of survival? The truth was that no one knew exactly what would happen next. The threat of the Zinthar was real, and they had the power to destroy Earth in ways humans couldn't even begin to understand. But one thing was certain: humanity had changed. They weren't going to wait for the storm to hit. They weren't going to hide in fear. They would face it head-on, with everything they had. As the alien fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, the eyes of the galaxy were on them. The Zinthar, proud and powerful, were ready to claim their prize. But as their massive ships loomed over the planet, something unexpected began to happen. Humans weren't backing down. They weren't trembling in fear or making hasty alliances with other species. Instead, they were standing tall, waiting. For the first time in millennia, Earth was ready to fight. The Zinthar commanders stared down at Earth with contempt. They couldn't understand why humans weren't frightened. They had expected the usual panic and disarray that followed whenever they conquered a new planet. But this time, things were different. The aliens had underestimated the one thing they couldn't control: human resilience. And they were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't just their advanced technology, it was their unbreakable will. And so, the stage was set. The peaceful world of Earth was about to be torn apart by the arrival of the Zinthar. But the humans weren't going to give up without a fight. What followed would change everything. The universe would never look at humanity the same way again. And the Zinthar. They would soon realize that they had made the biggest mistake of their lives by underestimating the one species they should have feared the most. The Zinthar fleet hovered over Earth, a terrifying sight that could make even the bravest hearts falter. Their ships, massive and black as the void itself, covered the sky like an endless wall of darkness. The space around them rippled with energy, a strange and unsettling hum emanating from the alien vessels. The Zinthar had arrived in full force, expecting to find a planet of frightened, weak humans who had grown complacent in their long-lasting peace. They had underestimated their adversary. And now, they were about to find out how wrong they were. On the surface of Earth, the people watched in stunned silence. The sky above them was blocked by the looming ships, casting shadows over the cities below. The world had never experienced such a presence, such a sheer sense of terror. But instead of the panic that would usually follow an invasion of this scale, the humans stood still, united. There was no retreat, no fear. The message sent by Earth's leaders was clear: we will not run, we will not hide. In the heart of Earth's government, the highest-ranking officials gathered in a secure underground bunker, surrounded by screens showing the alien ships in every angle imaginable. On one screen, a Zinthar flagship hovered ominously over the Earth's capital. On another, reports of global readiness came in, with citizens preparing for the unknown. No one knew what would happen next, but one thing was certain: Earth would not submit. General Kara, Earth's military leader, stood before the gathered council, her expression unwavering. The last time humanity faced such a threat was centuries ago, but those times felt distant now. Humanity had changed. They had grown, evolved, and gathered knowledge that now felt like an old, forgotten secret. The peace they had enjoyed for thousands of years had hidden one crucial detail: their true power. "We've had time to prepare," Kara said quietly, turning toward her team. "We may not know everything the Zinthar are capable of, but we know one thing for sure: they won't be able to handle us the way they think." The council nodded, their faces grim but determined. They knew the time for peace had passed. They were ready to fight for their future. Across the globe, humanity's response was much the same. People went to their stations, preparing as best they could. It wasn't about facing a mighty army with traditional weapons. It was about facing the unknown with everything they had. And in the shadows of Earth's military bases, scientists were making final adjustments to the mysterious artifact humanity had discovered so long ago, the ancient Codex. This artifact, which had been passed down through generations, had unlocked powers far beyond human understanding. Powers that would allow them to confront the Zinthar on an equal footing. No one knew exactly how the Codex worked, but the legend spoke of it as a key to unimaginable strength. Those who had studied its texts and symbols had only scratched the surface of its power. Now the time had come to activate it fully. The final preparations were being made, and once the Codex was used, there would be no going back. Meanwhile, the Zinthar fleet was getting impatient. Their leader, the commander of the Zinthar War Council, stood in the command chamber of his flagship, staring down at the planet below. "We should have crushed them immediately," he growled, his voice low and menacing. His reptilian eyes narrowed. "The humans are either fools or hiding something. We need to wipe them out quickly, before they reveal whatever weapon they have." One of his commanders, a lieutenant who had observed Earth for years, spoke up. "They are not what they seem, Commander. The humans have had thousands of years to prepare for an enemy like us. I suggest we move with caution. They may have something far beyond our understanding." The commander sneered. "Caution. They are nothing but an insignificant species. They cannot stand against us. We will show them the power of the Zinthar." But even as the commander gave his orders, something in the back of his mind nagged at him. Something felt wrong. The humans were not acting like the helpless creatures they had expected. Instead of surrendering or fleeing, they were standing firm, preparing for something. It was almost as if they knew the Zinthar's every move before it happened. As Earth's military readied itself, General Kara stood at the head of a large conference table in her war room, staring at the holographic map of Earth and the alien fleet. Her fingers traced the outlines of various cities, key military bases, and power hubs. She knew the war would not be won by brute force alone, but by strategy. The Zinthar, for all their power, had a weakness. Their arrogance was their greatest flaw. They believed their superiority was absolute. They would be caught off guard. "I want every fleet to be in position," Kara said, her voice steady and commanding. "We may not have the resources they do, but we have something more valuable: the ability to adapt. The Zinthar won't see this coming." Across the world, the military's response was coordinated. In underground bunkers, in hidden spaceships, and in secret laboratories, humanity began to implement their plan. The Codex was activated, and the first signs of its power began to ripple through Earth's defenses. Energy waves surged through cities, charging their weapons, amplifying their shields, and even enhancing human soldiers. Earth wasn't just preparing for war. They were preparing to unleash something the Zinthar could not even begin to comprehend. And yet, the Zinthar were not without their own strategies. They had gathered intelligence, studying Earth for centuries, learning everything they could about this seemingly peaceful species. They knew about the Codex, but they had never understood its true potential. They had assumed that humanity was weak, fragile after so many years of peace. But the truth was far different. Humanity had been quietly waiting for this moment. They had been preparing, not just with weapons and technology, but with something deeper. A sense of unity, a will to survive, and an unwavering belief that no alien race would ever threaten their way of life. Now, as the Zinthar fleet grew closer to Earth, they would soon discover the true nature of humanity's strength. As the countdown to the first strike began, the humans on Earth could feel a strange energy coursing through the air. The ancient power that had been dormant for so long was awakening. They were ready, and the Zinthar had no idea what they were about to face. The first battle was about to begin, and it was a battle that would reshape the future of the galaxy. The first strike came without warning. The Zinthar, eager to assert their dominance, unleashed a wave of energy blasts from their flagship, directed straight at Earth's most populous cities. The blasts surged through the atmosphere, tearing into the ground, leaving craters in their wake. The earth trembled as explosions rang out across the globe, and the sky darkened with the shadow of the Zinthar's weapons. For a brief moment, it seemed as though humanity might crumble under the weight of such overwhelming power. But then, something remarkable happened. Instead of crumbling, the human defense systems, powered by the ancient energy unlocked from the Codex, surged to life. The energy shields around the major cities flared brightly, absorbing the Zinthar's attacks. The blast waves dissipated harmlessly in the atmosphere, leaving humanity unscathed, their cities still standing, their resolve unbroken. The Codex had worked. General Kara stood at the War Room's command center, watching the live feed from every corner of the globe. She saw the flashes of light in the distance, the explosion of energy where the Zinthar's attack had struck. But then the screen shifted, and she saw something unexpected. The energy shields were holding. The Zinthar's weapons, advanced as they were, could not penetrate the human defenses. Her face softened with a mixture of relief and anticipation. Humanity had just crossed a threshold. This was no longer a battle of survival. It was a battle for control of their fate. But this was just the beginning. The Zinthar would adapt, and their next move would likely be more brutal. Kara turned to her tactical officers. Prepare the counteroffensive. We need to hit them before they have a chance to regroup. Across the world, military forces moved into position. Soldiers, once ordinary civilians, now carried weapons empowered by the Codex, their training enhanced by the artifact's energy. They were faster, stronger, and more precise than ever before. The once helpless humans were now on equal footing with the most advanced species in the galaxy. The Zinthar, though surprised by the strength of humanity's defenses, quickly recalibrated. Their warships were equipped with devastating weapons, and they now focused on coordinating their attacks. They targeted human strongholds, sending down fleets of smaller vessels to assault cities directly. Each attack was more calculated, their tactics growing more refined. As their forces rained down on Earth, Commander Rizor, the leader of the Zinthar war fleet, watched with growing frustration. His species had never met resistance like this before. The humans had been underestimated. He had thought they were just primitive creatures living in the peaceful shadows of their own ignorance. Instead, they had unlocked ancient powers, and now they were proving to be a formidable adversary. Focus all fire on their power sources, Rizor ordered, his voice cold. We will crush their will to fight by cutting off their energy. The Zinthar fleet fired again, this time targeting the energy grids that powered Earth's new defense systems. But as they aimed their weapons at the energy hubs, they were met with an unexpected sight. The humans had anticipated this move. Just as the Zinthar's weapons reached their targets, a countermeasure activated. A massive field of energy, drawn from the Codex, surged outward, deflecting the Zinthar's blasts and sending shockwaves through the alien ships. Impossible, Rizor muttered, his eyes widening as the energy field enveloped the human power sources, rendering the Zinthar's weapons useless. Their ships were beginning to lose their grip on the battle. The humans, it seemed, had anticipated every move. Meanwhile, on Earth, the people were watching the battle unfold. News outlets broadcasted live footage of the ongoing conflict. The world had come together, no longer divided by borders or politics. Instead, there was a single unified front against the alien invaders. The human spirit, once thought weak after centuries of peace, now burned brighter than ever. As the Zinthar began to falter, General Kara saw an opportunity. We move in now, she said firmly. Let's show them the true strength of humanity. The counteroffensive was swift. Humanity's forces, empowered by the Codex, coordinated a massive assault on the alien ships. Every soldier, fighter, and warrior, enhanced by the artifact, acted with precision and deadly force. The humans didn't just defend their cities. They went on the offensive, targeting the Zinthar ships and taking out their ground forces. On the front lines, soldiers with energy weapons fought side by side, their enhanced abilities allowing them to keep up with the speed of the battle. A soldier named Terran, who had been an engineer just months ago, now found herself wielding a weapon capable of tearing through alien armor with ease. She wasn't the only one. All over Earth, ordinary people had become warriors, their physical abilities amplified, their minds sharpened, their courage unyielding. As the battle raged on, Commander Reiser ordered a full retreat. He had never expected such a fierce response from the humans, and now he was realizing that they were not the weak species he had once thought. They had become something much more dangerous than the Zinthar had anticipated. Earth was no longer just a world of humans. It was a force that could rival the might of any alien species. The retreat of the Zinthar was a victory for Earth, but it was only a temporary one. Reiser's defeat was humiliating, but he knew this war was far from over. The Zinthar had resources and technology that humanity could not even begin to comprehend. But as his fleet limped back into space, he knew one thing for certain. This fight was far from finished, and the humans would make sure they were prepared for whatever the Zinthar would bring next. Back on Earth, General Kara stood tall, her eyes fixed on the horizon. The first battle had been won, but she knew that much bigger challenges awaited. Humanity had proved itself capable, but the Zinthar were relentless, and they would return. The Codex had given them a chance, but it would take everything the human race had to protect their future. In the silence that followed, Kara spoke quietly to her team. "We've taken the first step, but the real battle starts now." The galaxy would be watching, and the humans had just shown the universe that they were no longer the underdogs. They had become a force to be reckoned with. The Zinthar were not a race to be taken lightly. Despite the crushing defeat they had just suffered at the hands of the humans, they were still a highly advanced and aggressive species. Commander Reiser, humiliated but determined, quickly regrouped with his fleet. They would not retreat into obscurity. The war was only beginning, and the humans had made a powerful statement, one that would not be forgotten. But the Zinthar were far from beaten, and they had their own plans for retribution. As the alien fleet retreated into the depths of space, General Kara and the leaders of Earth gathered in their war rooms, analyzing the outcome of the battle. The energy from the Codex had given them a significant advantage, but they knew that the Zinthar would not be deterred by a single defeat. The power of the Codex was immense, but the Zinthar had resources and weapons of their own. Humanity's victory had been hard-won, but they had not crushed the Zinthar's spirit. Not yet. Kara stood at the head of the table, her eyes scanning the maps of Earth's defenses and the alien fleet's current position. The Codex had bought them time, but time was something the Zinthar had in abundance. "We can't afford to wait for them to regroup," she said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "They'll be back, and when they do, they'll be prepared. We need to strike first." The room fell silent. It was a bold move, one that carried immense risk, but it was the only way. The humans had always been reactive, waiting for the enemy to make the first move, but this was a new era. They couldn't afford to be passive. They had to take the fight to the Zinthar, while they still had the upper hand. "We need to disrupt their supply lines," Kara continued, turning to her tactical officer. "Target their refueling stations, their communication hubs. We need to break their ability to organize, and we need to do it before they rebuild their forces." The plan was set into motion. Earth's fleet, now bolstered by the power of the Codex, prepared to strike at the heart of the Zinthar's operations. The human military had learned quickly how to utilize their newfound strength, and their ships were now equipped with energy weapons far more advanced than anything they had ever used before. The Codex had unlocked more than just defense systems. It had enhanced human weaponry, giving them the firepower to take on even the most advanced of alien fleets. The first strike in this new phase of the war took place in the outer reaches of the galaxy, far from Earth's homeworld, but close enough to the Zinthar's resource hubs. Human forces, led by General Kara, launched a surprise assault on one of the Zinthar's primary supply stations. It was a quick, precise strike. Everything humanity had learned about warfare in the past few decades had been leading to this moment. There were no long, drawn-out battles. This was a surgical strike, designed to send a message. The Zinthar, still reeling from their earlier defeat, had not anticipated such an aggressive move from the humans. Their defenses were thin, their fleet still recovering from the earlier clash. The humans hit hard and fast, overwhelming the Zinthar forces stationed there before they could properly respond. Within hours, the supply station was crippled, and vital resources were either destroyed or rendered useless. The Zinthar's efforts to regroup and retaliate were delayed, buying humanity more time. But Kara knew that this victory, like the first one, was only temporary. The Zinthar were an unforgiving enemy, and they would strike back with even more force. The human fleet had won one battle, but the war was far from over. They had made an enemy of one of the most powerful species in the galaxy, and now they would have to prove that they could survive a prolonged conflict. As humanity regrouped and prepared for the next phase of the war, something unexpected began to happen. The Codex's energy, which had granted them unimaginable strength, began to behave unpredictably. Strange energy fluctuations were detected in several human ships. Some of their enhanced soldiers began to experience strange, unexplainable symptoms, heightened senses, bursts of strength, and even flashes of visions that seemed to be tied to the Codex itself. It was as if the artifact was doing more than just empowering them. It was changing them. General Kara, too, began to experience the strange side effects. She would catch glimpses of images, brief flashes of what seemed to be future events. She could hear whispers in the back of her mind, echoes of something ancient and far beyond her understanding. It was unsettling, to say the least, but it also felt like a gift. The Codex was speaking to them, showing them the path forward, guiding them in ways no one fully understood. But Kara knew one thing. This was the key to humanity's survival. They had to embrace it, no matter the cost. But with this new power came new challenges. The Zinthar, realizing that their initial strategies had failed, began to adapt. They developed new weapons, stronger shields, and more aggressive tactics. They focused on using their own ancient technologies, hidden deep within their ships, to counteract the human advances. The war had become a battle of intelligence, as both sides sought to outmaneuver the other. The next encounter took place just beyond Earth's orbit. The Zinthar, now fully recovered from their initial losses, came at the humans with renewed fury. The battle was fierce, with energy blasts lighting up the space around Earth, ships colliding in midair, and explosions ringing through the void. The Codex-powered ships of the human fleet were holding their ground, but it was clear that the Zinthar were pushing hard. During the battle, something unexpected occurred. As the Zinthar pressed their assault, the Codex's energy surged within Kara's own ship. The energy field around her ship flared, causing a massive shockwave that sent the Zinthar ships reeling. In the chaos, Kara found herself caught in a strange moment, an otherworldly vision. She saw the face of a Zinthar leader, his expression filled with both rage and recognition, as if he knew something about the Codex that the humans did not. Then, in a blur, the vision was gone. Kara snapped out of the trance, her heart racing. Whatever she had seen was important. She knew that much. The Zinthar were not just fighting for control of Earth. They were fighting for something much bigger. And the Codex, it was more than just a weapon. It was a key to something ancient and powerful, something that could change the balance of the entire galaxy. The battle raged on, but now, it was clear. The stakes had been raised. Earth was no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for something far more significant, something that would determine the fate of the galaxy. And as the Zinthar fleet regrouped for another strike, General Kara understood one thing. The true war was just beginning. The war had escalated. What started as a simple battle for survival had transformed into something far more complex, a struggle for something that neither side fully understood. The Zinthar were relentless, and their tactics were growing more sophisticated by the day. They had learned from their mistakes, and they were now deploying devastating new weapons that seemed tailored to counteract the power of the Codex. The battle lines had shifted from Earth's surface to the vast expanse of space, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. General Kara stood in the command room of the flagship, staring at the holographic map of the battlefield. The once calm expanse of Earth's orbit was now a war zone, filled with debris from destroyed ships and the remnants of weapons fire that lit up the night sky. Earth's forces were holding their ground, but Kara knew it wouldn't last forever. The Zinthar were relentless, and with each passing day, their strategies grew sharper. The battle for Earth had only just begun, but already it felt like the whole of humanity was on the brink of something far greater. The Codex, the ancient artifact that had empowered humanity and turned the tide in their favor, had proven to be both a blessing and a curse. It gave them strength, unimaginable abilities, but also seemed to be changing them in ways they didn't fully understand. Kara had witnessed the strange fluctuations in her own abilities, visions of things that hadn't happened yet, bursts of strength that didn't make sense, and a deep, almost primal connection to the artifact itself. It was as though the Codex was calling to something within her, unlocking powers that defied explanation. Her mind raced. Every decision she made, every move she commanded her forces to take, felt as though it was guided by something deeper than logic. The Codex was leading them, but where? What was its true purpose? Kara couldn't shake the feeling that the war was only a distraction, a surface conflict that hid something far more significant beneath it. The Zinthar were after something, and she had a sinking suspicion that whatever it was, it had to do with the Codex. The war had reached a turning point, but the Zinthar were not easily defeated. Despite their earlier failures, they had regrouped, rebuilding their forces in the deepest corners of space. Commander Rizor, now fully aware of the power humanity wielded, was no longer underestimating his enemy. His fleet had grown larger, more lethal, and more coordinated. They had uncovered weaknesses in human defenses, adapting to their tactics with ruthless precision. Yet, humanity had adapted as well. General Kara had ordered a full-scale attack on the Zinthar supply lines, striking their bases, crippling their resources, and slowing their ability to rebuild. The human fleet, enhanced by the Codex, was a force to be reckoned with. Ships that once seemed fragile in the face of the Zinthar's might were now swift and powerful, able to counterattack with devastating force. The Codex had given humanity the strength to fight back, but it was clear that this power was not unlimited. Every battle, every victory, cost them more. The artifact was changing them, and Kara didn't know if that was a blessing or a curse. And then, in the midst of the chaos, something unexpected occurred. The human fleet was preparing for another engagement with the Zinthar, but as the commanders issued their orders, a strange energy pulse emanated from the Codex. It was unlike anything they had felt before. The pulse was not an attack or a defensive shield, but something more profound. It reverberated through the air, through the very fabric of space itself, as if the Codex was awakening. Kara felt a sharp pain in her head as the pulse coursed through her, a vision flashing before her eyes. She saw the face of a Zinthar leader, a different one this time. His eyes were filled with fear, not anger, and he spoke words she could not understand. But the message was clear. They knew the Codex was more than just a weapon. It was a key to something ancient, something that had been lost for eons. The vision disappeared as suddenly as it had come, leaving Kara breathless, her heart racing. She staggered back, gripping the edge of the command console to steady herself. What was that? She muttered under her breath. Her second-in-command, Captain Alexei, noticed the change in her demeanor. "General, are you all right?" Kara turned to him, her face pale. "I don't know, but I saw something. The Zinthar. They know the Codex is more than just a weapon. It's a key." The word sent a shiver down her spine. A key. What was it a key to? And why was it so important to the Zinthar? Kara had a sense that the fate of the entire galaxy was tied to the Codex. If the Zinthar were after it, then humanity was no longer fighting just for Earth's survival. They were fighting for something much bigger. Before she could ponder further, The alarms blared throughout the command center. The Zinthar fleet had arrived, larger and more deadly than ever. The battle was imminent, but Kara knew this time would be different. The Zinthar weren't just after Earth anymore. They were after the Codex itself. The humans had become a symbol of resistance, and the Zinthar were willing to destroy everything to claim the power that humanity now wielded. "Prepare for battle," Kara ordered, her voice steely and unwavering. "But this time, we're not just defending Earth. We're defending something far more precious." The battle began. The Zinthar fleet moved in, their ships cutting through space like knives. Energy blasts filled the void, bright and violent, as both sides clashed in a frenzy of destruction. The human fleet fought fiercely, each ship empowered by the Codex's strange energy, but the Zinthar were relentless. Their weapons had been upgraded, their ships more advanced than ever before. Humanity's defenses were still strong, but the Zinthar seemed to know exactly where to strike, exploiting every vulnerability. Amid the chaos, General Kara found herself once again hearing the strange whispers from the Codex. This time, they were louder, more insistent. The Codex was calling her, guiding her. And then, just as the battle reached its peak, the ship's systems suddenly shut down. Everything went dark, and for a brief moment, Kara thought they were done. But the Codex pulsed once more, brighter than ever, and everything changed. The human fleet, now united in its power, surged forward with an unanticipated fury. The Codex had unlocked something new, something the Zinthar hadn't accounted for. The energy it had harnessed surged through the human ships, turning the tide of battle. They were no longer just fighting with weapons. They were fighting with something far more primal, far more ancient. The Zinthar, caught off guard by this new strength, began to falter. Their ships, once impenetrable, now exploded under the onslaught of human fire. The human fleet pushed forward, inching closer to victory. The battle was far from over, but it was clear that the Zinthar had underestimated humanity once again. As the Zinthar fleet began to retreat, General Kara felt the weight of the moment. The Codex had given them the strength to fight back, but what had it taken from them? The strange visions, the unexplainable energy. It was clear that the Codex was more than just a source of power. It was shaping humanity in ways they didn't fully understand. Kara had no idea what the ultimate cost would be, but one thing was certain. Earth was no longer just a planet in the galaxy. It was a symbol, a beacon of resistance against the might of the Zinthar. And as the war raged on, Kara knew that humanity's true challenge had only just begun. The Zinthar would be back, and next time, they would be even more determined. But this time, Earth had something more than just technology. They had the Codex, and with it, they had the power to shape the future. The war had taken a toll on both sides, but it had also forged a new understanding of what was truly at stake. Earth had proven its resilience, pushing back against the seemingly unstoppable Zinthar. Yet, as General Kara stood on the command deck of the flagship, looking out into the vast expanse of space, she knew the battle was far from over. The Zinthar, though beaten for now, were not a species to be underestimated. Their desire for the Codex was growing stronger, and it was becoming increasingly clear that they were willing to do whatever it took to seize it. The latest victory had given humanity a much-needed boost. The Zinthar had retreated for the moment, but their forces were still out there, regrouping, reorganizing. Kara's mind was consumed with the Codex, the artifact that had changed everything for humanity. The power it bestowed upon them was incredible, but she was starting to realize it wasn't just the artifact's power that made them dangerous. It was the connection it forged between them, and something far older, far greater, something the Zinthar had known about for centuries. The Codex was no mere weapon. It was a key, as Kara had suspected, but it wasn't just a key to the Zinthar's defeat. It was a key to something far larger, something that could reshape the very fabric of the galaxy. And now, the Zinthar weren't just after Earth or humanity's survival. They were after control of the Codex itself and the secrets it could unlock. Kara's thoughts were interrupted by a sharp ping on her comms. A transmission from one of Earth's outer defenses had just come through. "General Kara," the voice crackled through. "We've detected a fleet movement, but it's not Zinthar. It's something else. Something we've never seen before." Kara's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean, something else?" "We don't know yet, General. But we've been tracking it for hours, and it's heading straight for Earth." A cold shiver ran down Kara's spine. The Zinthar were dangerous enough, but now something new, something unknown, was approaching. The Codex had already attracted the attention of one of the most aggressive alien species in the galaxy. But if there was another force out there that had detected its power, humanity could be facing a threat they couldn't even begin to comprehend. "We'll need to move quickly," Kara said, her voice firm with resolve. "Prepare the fleet for defensive maneuvers. And I want every intelligence officer we have tracking this new force. We can't afford to be caught off guard again." As the fleet readied itself for a new threat, Kara couldn't shake the feeling that the war was no longer just about survival. It was about the future of the galaxy. The Codex had opened up possibilities that no one could have anticipated. It had already changed humanity, unlocking powers within them that they had never imagined. But what if that power wasn't meant to be used? What if the Zinthar, and now this mysterious new force, were not just after Earth, but after the Codex to prevent humanity from unlocking even greater potential? Kara didn't know the answers, but she was certain of one thing. Whatever lay ahead would be even more dangerous than anything they had already faced. A few hours later, the fleet was ready. Earth's defenses were bolstered by the power of the Codex, but even Kara knew that wasn't enough. They needed more. The strange energy surges from the artifact, which had once seemed like a blessing, had now become unpredictable. The energy fluctuations had been growing stronger, and Kara herself had begun experiencing more vivid and disturbing visions. The Codex was unlocking something in her, visions of distant galaxies, of forgotten civilizations, of ancient wars that stretched back beyond even the Zinthar's memory. It was as though she was being drawn into something far beyond her control. The line between ally and enemy was blurring. The unknown fleet arrived in Earth's orbit without warning. It wasn't like the Zinthar. There was no massive fleet descending from the sky. No, this was different. The ships were sleek and metallic, almost organic in shape. They didn't broadcast a signature the way the Zinthar did. Instead, they seemed to appear out of nowhere, as if they had been hiding just outside of detection range. They didn't communicate with Earth's forces, didn't make any demands. They simply waited. Kara's fleet moved into position, their weapons primed and ready. She couldn't risk taking chances. The Codex had given them the power to defeat the Zinthar, but this new enemy, she didn't know what they were capable of. Still, there was no choice but to confront them. As the two forces faced off in the cold void of space, an eerie silence fell over the fleet. No one knew who or what the enemy was. It was as if the universe itself held its breath. Kara's fingers tightened around the armrest of her command chair, her thoughts racing. What did they want? Were they here to claim the Codex as well? And then, as if answering her unspoken questions, a voice filled the comms. It wasn't a transmission sent by any ship in Earth's fleet. It was a voice, clear, calm, and chillingly ancient. "You have awakened something, General Kara. Something that was never meant to be unleashed." The voice sent a shiver down her spine. The Zinthar, despite their brutality, had never spoken like this, and now this mysterious new force was making itself known, not through force, but through words. "Who are you?" Kara demanded, her voice unwavering despite the fear creeping up her spine. The voice did not answer directly. Instead, it continued, "You do not understand the consequences of your actions. The Codex is not a gift. It is a curse. You have altered the balance of power in the galaxy. And now, we will restore it." As the voice faded, a new signal appeared on the screen, a countdown. The ships around Earth began charging their weapons. Whatever this new force was, it was not here for peace. They were here for the Codex. The fleet readied itself for battle. Kara's mind raced. She had always believed that humanity's survival depended on their ability to adapt, to fight when needed, and to survive against overwhelming odds. But this was different. They weren't just fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting for the very future of the galaxy. And with the Codex's power in their hands, Earth was no longer just a small planet in the vast universe. It was a beacon, a symbol of what could be, of the power that could shape the fate of every civilization in the galaxy. The final battle was about to begin, but Kara couldn't shake the feeling that the war was only just beginning. The true enemy, the true purpose of the Codex, was still a mystery. And until they uncovered the truth, humanity would fight, not just for their own survival, but for the future of the entire galaxy.